This is PNC Roundtable.
Hello, this is Ric DeVore, Regional President for PNC Bank, and thank you for listening to PNC Roundtable. It's on this show that we tackle some of the region's tough issues with people who make a difference.
Now here's the PNC Roundtable.
Welcome in to the PNC Roundtable. Hi, this is Paul W. Smith, usually with you mornings on WJR from 5:30 till 9, but right here, too, every month on the PNC Roundtable with our co-host, President Ric DeVore. Nice to see you, Ric.
Good to see you, Paul.
Everything is good, and you always bring us nice guests for the program.
Especially this time.
Yeah, especially this time. Let's say hi to our guests. Christine Rice is the president of Vision IT. Christine, nice to have you with us.
Pleasure to be here.
And we also have senior vice president at PNC Bank, Paula M. Roman. Paula, nice to see you.
Good morning. Nice to see you as well.
I would have a feeling that this has to do with Women's History Month, because I'm a quick study.
That's good.
Women's History Month. And in this conversation, I can't help but be reminded of not too long ago, of course, the Academy Awards, and Patricia Arquette stood before us all, and I would have preferred that she just thank us for the award and thank the other actors and say, boy, I'm blessed because this is quite a field of other very talented people. But she decided to take a stand and use that opportunity in front of the billion-plus people to talk about women and equality in pay. Where are we with women and equality with pay? Let's start with you, Paula Roman.
One thing that at PNC we're fortunate to have is we do have gender audits, so we're able to take a look at that we're fair and concise when it comes to pay within PNC.
I thought there were laws that said you had to pay properly and equal pay. What's your take on this, Christine Rice?
Well, I think we are seeing improvement in that area year over year. I still think that there's some challenges with equal pay, and just with regard to projects that are being disseminated. Just making sure that women are given the opportunity for larger opportunity for projects, larger scale. Diversity within the projects, and so I do think it's improving year over year.
So we're not really seeing at this point women getting equal access to projects that matter, so to speak? That's
true. Studies continue to show that women are getting smaller projects, less visibility. And although we're seeing a small percentage of that increasing, it's still not at the level that it needs to be.
How about on corporate boards? Are we seeing an increase in women's representation? I have to tell you, as I think about a variety of boards that I'm familiar with, it's mostly men, or at least seemingly so, and it may just be the boards I'm familiar with. But how about women? Is there an increase in women?
I think it's slowly trending that way. Even when you look at your large nonprofit boards, you still see the majority of them men. But nonprofits and corporate boards are looking to create that inclusive environment, and they're looking more to the workplace and looking for those top level women to join their organization.
I just think, Ric, that it just goes without saying, or maybe I shouldn't, but I think that we're going to continue to see more women in senior executive roles as the years go on, and with that will come better representation on corporate boards and a better opportunity to get equal access to projects that matter.
No, there's no doubt. And Terry Barkley at Inforum has a group that's just involved in helping companies place women on boards. Mm-hmm. With that said, though, it just makes good business sense to get your board to look like your employee base, your customer base, and the community. And so that's why we think it's good business. 62 or 3% of our employees are women, which, by the way, Paul, as you may know from Women of Vision exhibit that was here last year, that also represents about the freshman class in the United States and colleges right now. About 62 to 63% are women.
Right.
So it seems to me that even from a dollars and cents standpoint, this just makes good business sense. But I do think we have a ways to go.
Well, and Ric DeVore, you have told me before about this idea of an audit, gender audit. That I had not heard the expression before. You brought it up to me, so that shows that at least PNC is very focused on making sure you're fair about all this.
No, it really does, and we have, I've probably instituted PNC's version of the Rooney Rule at PNC. If you remember in pro football, the Rooney Rule with the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers has to do with the fact that you can't hire a head coach in the NFL unless you've interviewed somebody of color. We try to, for our executive positions, do the same thing, somebody of color and a female if we can. Now, with that said, sometimes the universe might not be there, but it's something that I think if you get in your frontal mind, and that's how you conduct yourself, it comes naturally. So that's what we try to do at PNC.
And the universe is broadening
Absolutely.
every day. I mean, that's the point, I would hope, at least. I want to know what Vision IT is, Christine Rice. What is Vision IT?
Well, Vision IT is an IT services company. It started 17 years ago right here in Detroit, Michigan. Our global headquarters is here. We have 20 offices around the country and global operations in various countries as well. And so we provide IT services. So I know that's broad around innovation. As you know, with technology, it continues to evolve, and we've been focused on staying cutting edge in order to provide those services that clients around the globe need. PNC is one of our customers. What we're doing there is around web development, application development, a lot of consulting services. So all around continuing to evolve the technology so that they can remain competitive.
What would you say, Christine, has been maybe the most challenging aspect of your job as president of such a global IT services company?
I think the key has been the global aspect. In order to remain competitive, you have to have access to resources, and in order to remain economically competitive, having a global workforce so that you can offer clients a good rate. And so we've continued to evolve throughout Latin America. So being one of the largest Hispanic-owned companies in the country, we felt that utilizing our heritage would be a great way. And so we entered Mexico about 4 years ago. It's been a great entryway for us. We've got 2 offices in Mexico now, Mexico City and in Puebla, and we're looking forward to continue to grow Latin America.
I hate to ask this question, but based on some of the things we've talked about, and the looking for the increase in women representation on corporate boards, getting those projects that matter, all of these sorts of things, do you feel being a woman has helped or hurt your career, or no effect at all?
I really think it's been both. When I look over my career, there has been opportunity because as we talked, companies want to continue to have a diverse workforce, and so I think I have been given the opportunity because being a woman. But then I do feel it's hurt because I know being around specifically technology, more of a male-dominated industry, I've had to prove myself, and going into making tough decisions, people would question, does she know what she's doing? And even though they didn't need to say it, you felt it, but remaining focused on what is best for the organization, and making sure that we continue to network and have great mentors that help us make those right decisions.
And what about for you, Paula Roman, there as a senior vice president of retail banking, president of Detroit Women Connect, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes to let people know what that is. But at PNC Bank, we already heard from Ric DeVore, the president, that you probably have more women employed than you do men. So you're kind of in a woman-dominated
Absolutely.
business.
So for me, my answer is a tad bit different. I think, it's really helped me. As a manager and leader of people, I think it's enabled me to kind of walk in their shoes and understand some of the stresses or challenges that women may face, primarily when it comes to raising children, taking time away from work. But also in our industry, I think it's helped me because we have had a very strong presence of women in our organization. And so when we look at top level leadership, we're able to see a very, very diverse workforce. And so I think for me, it's really enabled me to grow.
I'll ask both you, Paula and Christine, if you have felt intimidated in business, or has somebody tried to intimidate you in business just because you're a woman?
I'll answer that. I think certainly people have tried, but I think my personality from a very young age has always been let me prove you wrong. I attribute a lot of my strength from my parents. My dad was a hardworking man who put us through school and worked a lot of hours We all went to Catholic school, and I knew that I wanted to show him appreciation, and I worked very hard getting my first job at 14. My mom stayed home and always showed us a great example of don't cut corners, give it your all, and anything that you put your mind to and your heart, you'll do well, and that really has served me well.
You know, I'm at the risk of pulling a Matt Lauer. Not long ago on the Today Show, he got into a lot of trouble because it was felt that he asked Mary Bauer a question that he wouldn't have asked a man who was running General Motors. And the question was about basically achieving a work-life balance. And I'm here to tell you, I'll use myself as an example. I have a hard time, and I'm a man, I have a hard time balancing this work-life balance, doing what I do. Rick, you probably do too. So with that thought in mind, it's not a sexist question. It's a question that any of us who work as hard as we do in our positions have trouble with that. How do you achieve a work-life balance? We'll start with you, Paula, just because.
For me, I'm very fortunate that I work for an employer that supports work-life balance. So it's living each day, understanding what's important to my family, what's important to my career. I have a very, very strong support system that, with my family. And for me, I take each day as it comes. And I'm very open with my manager and my team around what I need, and it's just day by day for me.
And for you, Christine Rice, as a president of a company, the company isn't forcing you to do things, but we tend to force ourselves to do things. How do you work with this balance?
Yeah, I've had this question many times, and I really don't think as a business owner you have work-life balance. There's going to be times when you do, but running a global operation, it requires heavy travel. It requires 24/7 being available, and it requires that I work every day. And in fact, this weekend I took my son to MSU, which is where he's going to be going in the fall, and we talked about what do you want to do when you grow up, and it made me smile because he said, I want to be a business owner, and I see the joy that you get out of it. But I also said, but do you also see the hard work? And he said, I do, but the value that I see out of it. And that made me feel good, because no doubt any senior executive business owners out there can relate that there's going to be times when you really work hard to have that work-life balance, and you really need to focus on the times that you do have with your kids, that you turn your phone off or you really dedicate that time. But there's going to be many times that you miss out on a lot of activities. And
as Christine is a business owner, which has its own twists and turns, you've worked your way up working for people, Rick, but you've worked your way up to being the regional president of PNC in our area, so you've had to be very devoted to your job as well. How have you handled the work-life balance?
Well, I think it depends on where you are in the life cycle, right? For instance, there's a function that I'm going to in 2 nights. It's a work-related function. I'm going to take my wife with me, and then afterwards go out on a date, i.e. go to dinner. So for me, it's trying to blend those.
Date night is very important.
That's true.
And you try to blend those two together. Obviously, I don't have children at home now, but just trying to blend some of those things. And I think probably not too dissimilar to you. I see Kim at a lot of functions, some of your children. I know it seems like I'm mixing work in or imposing work, but there's a way you can do it, I think.
I hate to say it quite this way, and I'm not sure the way to say it, but my work is my life, and my life is my work. I mean,
That's true.
When people say, "What's your personal email address?" I got one email address. It comes to me because that's my work and that's my life. I don't have a separate email address for when I'm off work, because I don't really feel like I'm ever really, really off work. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is just the way it is for me. I do want to know about Detroit Women Connect, which I understand is very specifically a PNC program that you head up, Paula. So if you could tell us a bit about it.
Absolutely. Detroit Women Connect is a PNC employee business resource group geared towards enabling and developing both women in the region professionally and personally. And so we launched our chapter just under 2 years ago, and we're proud to say that now within PNC's entire firm, we have 17 chapters throughout our footprint.
Well, look back over those 2 years. What changes were you able to impact? How does this translate to your clients' benefit, for example?
Well, I'm going to first start with our employees. So we have now 195 members right here in our region, with just a little over 900 employees just in the retail bank alone. 70% of those are women, and so we're really, really proud to say through a lot of our programming and efforts that we did over the last year and a half, 28 of our members have been promoted either into a higher entry-level position or into another line of business. So we're excited to say that they're kind of stepping out of their comfort zone and taking on new challenges within the organization. And for our clients, it's really enabled us to network with other women's groups within the region. And so we're able to host joint events with each other. We work very in syncly with Inform here locally. We were able to bring in over 75 women when PNC sponsored our Women of Vision in Cranbrook and really allowed them to network with each other. So a lot of great things for our clients as well.
Well, it sounds great. Yes, indeed. Please join in, Christine.
Yeah, Paul, I'd like to add that I'm definitely seeing an increase in employee resource groups throughout corporate America. There's more collaboration, not only about women resource groups, but even diverse, resource groups. And so this is a very positive change that we're seeing, and companies are sharing best practices. What's working within one organization?
Right.
How do we grab onto those best practices? One thing that Ric mentioned, which I think is very true. Corporations are seeing the importance of having a workplace that mirrors their buyers. And I was reading an article just the other day. Talking about women control 83% of consumer purchases. I mean, that's huge. So everyone realizes in corporate America you have to have women representation in decision making, whether you're building an automobile or you're banking. So this is significant. This is not a nice to have. It's a must have.
Well, and as president, Christine Rice of Vision IT, it's nice to know you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, because you've been actively involved in the Michigan Women in Technology, the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council, and the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So these are things that you live.
Absolutely.
Have either of you, and that means the three of you sitting across from me here on PNC Roundtable, sitting across from me happens to be Christine Rice, President of Vision IT, Paula Roman, Senior Vice President of Retail Banking and President of Detroit Women Connect PNC Bank, and, of course, the Regional President, Ric DeVore, our co-host. How did you get where you are today? Who helped you along the way? Someone I'm certain helped you along the way. I'm going to start with you because we haven't talked to you, Ric, in a while.
In terms of just leading the way?
Yeah, in your business, there's somebody that mattered, that was important, that you felt was doing it the right way, or maybe even helped you with a hand up or whatever.
And hopefully it was a woman.
Mine was.
Well, now I'm in trouble because I probably, for me, I probably said this might be a world record in banking. I had the same boss for 13 years.
Really?
And, I've had 4 different ones in 5 years since I've been here. But, which is more the norm in banking.
Welcome to the world of business these days.
And so for me, I had the privilege of working for somebody that had high integrity, strong work ethic, and continually challenged me. And, I followed the credo of my father. My father gave me some advice once that I never forgotten. He said, find something nobody wants to do and do it really well. And he was a medic, as you know, in World War II, so he practiced that. But for me, what that meant was I volunteered for every merger and acquisition thing there was, and you look at 10 to 15 to do one. And so meant a lot of lost weekends, but I met a lot of people that way. Increased my bandwidth.
They see you around a lot of business.
Yeah, and so but that mentor was a male. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking. I mean, realistically, when he was, and this is not saying you're old, but when you were growing up through the business, we still weren't nearly as developed as we are today, and we've already admitted that we're developed today,
right,
but not as far as we need to be. And in my business, in broadcasting, there haven't been a lot of women
Right.
to look up to other than Barbara Walters, for example, and that was never what I was aiming for. I was more like J.P. McCarthy, who did the morning show here while I was growing up in Monroe, or Paul Harvey from Paul Harvey News and Comment, who I was lucky enough to go to Chicago and fill in for a number of times. So, for us, it was a lot of men. But what about for you guys, Paula? For you, for example.
For me, I had two instrumental women throughout my career, both of them who are no longer with our firm. But one told me early on, do the job you want in the job you're in. So really challenged me to kind of step out of my comfort zone and challenge myself to do something different.
Do the
job you want in the job you're in. So if you want that next level promotion, do it in the job you're in. Show them that you can do it, because you're not going to get in and get it trained on. They're not going to train you. And then my second one really challenged me to step out of my comfort zone. And so as I prepared for things, launching of the chapter, and Ric knows her really well, spent a great deal of time challenging me on things that I felt that I needed development on, and wasn't afraid to give me honest, true feedback. So wasn't holding my hand, but was really true and honest to me.
Which
and so
is
thankfully,
important.
I'm still in close contact with them, and though they're not in our business world anymore, that they're still important mentors in my life personally.
Mm-hmm. And Christine?
Yeah, I think it's important to get involved in organizations. We talked about several of them that are specific to women, but just business organizations as a whole, so that you can continue to develop your network. You learn from different cultures, different sexes, and so I would say that that's really what's influenced me at an early age. I started working at Electronic Data Systems, which was a global entity, and so it had a lot of opportunity for networking, and I was always one that volunteered to attend. I felt that the more I knew, the more valuable I would become, and that served me well.
Your son made you proud, and it's still hard to believe. Somebody's got to say it. And for those of you watching us here at WJR.com, when she said, "Well, I was with my son as he's going to MSU," I went, "What?"
Thank you.
You've heard that before.
Yes.
It seems like
Good
you
genes.
just graduated from MSU yourself. But your son likes the idea of owning a business or being a president of a business. So he's had your experience to follow. Did you have that kind of experience in the family or not?
No, we didn't. We didn't have business owners, but as I shared earlier, just strong work ethic. That both from my mom and my dad. And my dad always told me, you knock on the front door, no one answers, you don't just keep knocking. And you think about people a lot of times. I made that phone call, nobody called me back. I just keep making that phone call. I remember my dad always saying, you knock on the front door, nobody answers, you go to the back door. Nobody's answering the back door, you go to the window. You keep looking for other ways to get in. And I always think about that as I go throughout business. There's always a way, whether it's contacting a friend, contacting a colleague, or attending an event. There's always another way to get in the door to network.
And once they get in that door, let's say, what advice would you give someone going into a leadership position for the first time?
Be prepared. You might have an opportunity that you might not have again. And so, being prepared is so key. Making sure that you're clear with the message that you want. What is the ask? My team will hear me talk about that a lot. What do you really want? So what's your ask? Don't leave that meeting until you ask that question and you get them to commit. Maybe now is not the right time. There's been many times when we've been in meetings and timing is not right. But if you continue to remain connected when the time is right, you're going to be there and top of mind.
What would you consider one of your biggest successes to date, other than obviously raising a fine son?
Thank you. Yeah, I've got two, so we don't want to.
All right,
that's right.
Then we'll leave them guessing, or no?
Yeah,
both sons.
That's right.
Good.
That's right. I think about there's a lot that I'm very proud of being the president of a global company. It really comes down to great people. We talk about Vision IT being a success, and if you go to visionit.com, we got a lot of press releases about the growth of our organization, but it's not because of one person. Our CEO is a dynamic person. David Segura has been recognized around the globe, and we definitely thank him for his innovation and great mind. But it's not, again, the top leadership. It's about the people every day coming in, dedicated to perform an outstanding job so that customers want to continue to do business with us.
I would think certainly, Paula Roman, for you, Detroit Women Connect is a high point. Share something else that you feel is something that you're very proud of.
I think
Besides
outside
being
of
on the PNC Roundtable.
right outside of that.
That would be, boy, if that's your
that's
pinnacle.
number two. That's number two.
If that's your pinnacle, God bless you.
I think for me, it's continuing to work with women and men within our organization and helping them develop and become what they want to be. We're fortunate that I do work for an organization where we have tools and resources available, but really working with those that want to take that next step and being that mentor and go-to person for them. For me, that's very, very satisfying. And, through being with the company for as long as I have been, I've been able to see many people flourish. And sometimes they grow up and they leave me. And those are great things where they grow up and sometimes they grow up and they pass me. And it's another great thing. So it's not always, holding them back. It's kind of sometimes they're going to take that leap and they're going to jump ahead of you. But for me, that's most of my most rewarding moments.
Is that similar for you, Rick?
No, it is. I think, quite frankly, that's the sincerest form of flattery when people want your people. And we have a number of people that are now in different positions at the bank. And if you can keep them in the firm, so much the better. But to me, that's when you're doing something right.
Yeah,
and
if you're the farm club, if you're the farm club for other positions, that is a compliment to you.
Mm-hmm. And it's that ability to let go, and people remember that. I think what's the old saying? What you want on your tombstone, work backwards. Well, I think if you can have that effect on people's career and their life, that's pretty.
I've never
rewarding.
heard that expression before.
I haven't either.
Well, you can write that one down. But
what you want in your tombstone,
and then work
backwards. That's interesting.
I got a lot of those, Paul. But it's interesting. I was just thinking to myself that Paula has 3 children, and they're all boys, and Christina's 2, and they were both boys.
Oh my!
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they do so well.
Probably want to have our kids on the air, maybe.
Yeah, right.
They'll tell you about work-life balance for us,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting observation. The Detroit Women Connect does have a community focus.
Absolutely.
If you could tell us a little bit about that before we run out of time.
Well, in addition to our work with PNC Grow Up Great, supporting the North American Auto Show, we've done the Guinness World Record attempt that was here earlier, late last year at Cobo. But we also adopted.
I forgot what it was.
It was
We did.
we
well, we
set
won.
the world record.
We set the world record for the largest vocabulary attempt.
At the same, we had the world's largest vocabulary lesson simultaneously around the country.
Throughout the footprint. So we had many Women Connect members there assisting the Detroit Public School preschool teachers in guiding their students through that process. Mm-hmm. But we also work with Habitat for Humanity. We've done October Build with Women Only. So in October, we participated in a Women Only Habitat Build. We work with Head Start programs through our PNC Grow Up Great, where we've adopted a site, and so we give back 100 man-hours of our time in both resources for the students, but also helping them get to the next place. So we've done quite a bit, and we continue to evolve in the community. Most recently, we started working with some high school students, and so it's kind of a new endeavor for us. Mm-hmm. Rick was gracious enough as our sponsor to come and actually talk to them, but we had 25 students that we work with on executive presence and resume writing, and so we really tied it into what kind of influences them at this day and age. And how you dress and how you present yourself really impacts you once you even get into school, when you're looking at applying to schools, what they're writing on their resumes, how their email addresses might affect people. So we're excited that we're taking that as a roadshow, and we'll start visiting more and more high schools throughout the market and delivering that message to them.
That whole PNC Grow Up Great goes back to your DNA and the things we've talked about. That's something to be very proud of, Rick.
Yeah, it is. And this particular effort was River Rouge High School in conjunction with United Way, and also talking about things social media-wise. What you put out there on your Facebook page and what you're tweeting and what employers can look at. And so it was a good session.
A lot of great conversation. Mm-hmm. And actually some mentorships came out of that. So some of the students had reached out to some of the executives that were in the room and asked them specifically to help mentor them. So.
Right. And I'm sure at Vision IT, you have the same kind of pride in the projects that you're involved with, and your employees are encouraged to be a part of, Christine.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, community involvement is really how Vision IT started. Our CEO was giving back to inner city kids, helping them with websites, and that's how Vision IT was born. So giving back to the community is extremely important. And now as we've continued to grow across the globe, doing it in the areas in which we live and work has continued to grow. We have something called T-Lab, which we're really proud of. It's these technology labs around the country that we're continuing to open with state-of-the-art technology for inner city kids so that they can have the opportunity that others have. So it's a great technology lab.
Paula, final word from you in terms of anything that we might have missed that you wanted to bring up or mention. This would be the time. If there's nothing, that's fine, too.
No, I think I'm good.
That means we did our job. And for you, Christine, any last thoughts?
Well, I was joking with Paula before we got on the air, and I said, you know, I'm asked to talk a lot about women in leadership, and I said, but I do want to make a point, you know, we do need men. You know, men are important just as well as women.
Thank you so much. We were feeling a little left
I
out.
wanted to be sure everyone understood, you know, so.
Men are not organized.
That's true.
Women are organized. Yeah, I always get a kick out of people saying how much help women needed, girls needed in school because they were intimidated. And yet there's many more women going into college now than men, many more women going into law than men, many more women going into medicine than men. And from way back in grade school, none of the little girls seemed challenged to raise their hand and answer questions. I mean, they did. And then I went to an all-boy high school, so all bets are off. I don't know what the interaction was, and then off to college and back to co-ed. But men are not organized. And I know you guys know that. But thank you for the little plug for men.
That's right. I think it's all about diversity. And, you know, we talked a lot about, you know, companies focused on making sure that their organization looks like the buyers. I mean, really, that's what it's all about. And we know that we need to improve with women in the workplace at different levels, but it is also about just having a diverse work group.
Which brings us back to you, boss, and the final word.
Well, I think not only is this the right thing to do in terms of women resource groups, but like I said earlier, it also makes good business sense. We got some ground to take, but I think we're getting at it, and I think it's groups like in our shop that Paula leads that's helping us, you know, get to where we want to be. And I do have 2 granddaughters and a daughter, so this is important stuff.
All right. Well put. And we thank our guests, Paula Roman, Senior Vice President of Retail Banking, President of Detroit Women Connect at PNC Bank, and Christine Rice, the President of Vision IT. And so, on behalf of Regional PNC President Ric DeVore, I'm Paul W. Smith, and we'll see you on the radio in the morning from 5:30 till 9 on WJR.